what do you know about Anthony Davis at present, right now?
I know two things. I know that the Lakers are hopeful that he avoided the word concussion, and I know that the Lakers are not even using the word concussion, trying to speak it out of existence. Because if he does have a concussion, he will almost certainly not be able to play Game 6, and I got to be honest with you, I think Game 7 would be a long shot. Because once you're in the protocol, you guys know this from the NFL, it's a similar situation. And you also know from the NFL that sometimes you can not have symptoms until the next day. So while there was good feelings from the Lakers last night and this morning that he didn't immediately show the symptoms and that he recovered quickly after the game, it's going to be a bit of a worrisome day for them because he's so important to them. And, you know, this is one thing I've been trying to tell people on ESPN today. When you're in the concussion protocol, it's not about playing through an injury. It's not like, oh, man, my ankle is sore. Because I know people want to knock AD for not, being tough, which if you want to do that, you can. This is taken out of his hands. This is not in the coach's hands. It's not in AD's hands. The doctors will determine it, and they do tests at the beginning of the season to do certain baselines to see how you react to stuff. And he's beholden to hitting those marks. And as long as he hits those marks, he'll be fine. But this is not like, oh, just play on your sore head. So, I think the Lakers are hopeful, but I think we've got some more hours to go here.
Well, how does it work in the NBA? The NFL concussion program and the protocols. Many of us know it down to the letter because this is something that has the national spotlight on it for as long as it's been. But the NBA, not so much. Who is the one looking at Anthony Davis and determining whether he has suffered a concussion?
Right. So there's doctors. So before the season starts, they put every player through a series of tests. Mm-hmm. And those tests establish what the player are when everything's fine. And then they will run those players that they suspect of a concussion through those tests again. And if you don't meet those standards, you are going to potentially go into the concussion protocol. Once you are in, there is a series of things that you must do to clear playing. And some of those things require 24 hours in between them. Some of them are physical. Some of them are, operational. Mm-hmm. And so even if you are feeling 100%, you might have to wait 24 hours to do the next step in the process. And they do that for a reason because they're trying to protect the player. So I have seen a couple of times, the concussion protocol happened in the NBA in 2011. There's been a couple of times, I remember it happened with Paul George once, I remember it happened with George Hill once, where a player suffered a concussion, went into the protocol in the playoffs, missed one game, and then was able to return for a game sort of 3 days later. Mm-hmm. But the average return in the concussion protocol in the NBA is 7 days.
Wow.
So they got to take care of Anthony Davis. They got to protect Anthony Davis. They got to protect him. If he goes in the concussion protocol, and again, he is not in it now, and the hope is that he will avoid it. But if he goes in the concussion protocol, I think you probably are looking at no 6, no 7. And I'm sure that there is a lot of pressure about the concussion protocol going on because you can imagine how sensitive this situation is, player health protection protocols versus obviously the reality that if he goes in, it's such a loss.
What a sequence of events, Brian, coming out of Game 5, right? I mean, where the Warriors took care of business and the Lakers are now staring into the potential no AD abyss. What a major swing, one would think, from Game 5 to Game 6.
Yeah, but they
right
have AD.
Now. No, I know that.
I think those of us in the media, and this is what I've been trying to say on television today, we have to acknowledge what the concussion protocol means because I think AD, I don't want people to say, because frankly, you got Charles Barkley and Shaquille O'Neal laughing last night. And I don't want people to think that this is about he won't play through a sore knee. It's not going to be in his hands. But at the same time, they didn't think he was in the protocol last night. He could clear today, and he could be just fine, and Game 6 could go on.
And then let's just assume that. What do you think is the key to that game? Because the Warriors, as we all know, Game 3 washout, Game 4 they were up, and then Lonnie Walker, the fourth, happened. What do you think a Game 6 hinges on? Let's assume Anthony Davis returns.
Yeah, so the Lakers watched last series and watched Steph Curry detonate the Sacramento Kings out of the playoffs. They watched him in Game 7 on the road closeout game, just like this is, drop 50. And they basically made the decision, we are not going to let Steph Curry beat us. We're not going to do it. So they have, in various different ways with various different strategies, basically forced Steph to distribute the ball. Now, he has still had some great games. And last night, for example, he had, he was really able to get to the basket. I know they had 25 baskets in the paint last night, and I think Steph, off the top of my head, had 5 or 6 of them. He was really able to get past the perimeter and get into the basket, get out in transition. But they have been smothering him on the perimeter, and I think he's 6 of 25 from three-point range the last 2 games. And they are really forcing the ball at his hands with double teams and stuff like that. And so when the Warriors have gotten wins, it's when they've gotten great support from their other players. You know, last night Andrew Wiggins had his best playoff game of the postseason, 25 points. That's huge for them. Draymond Green, 20 points last night. Draymond doesn't score. When Draymond scores 20, it's like another player scoring 30. He does everything else. He's been playing great in this postseason, but this scoring is huge. You know, when they won Game 2, even the series 1-1, Clay went 8 of 11 on threes. Clay has not shot above 33%, I don't think, since. Maybe he had one game where he shot 36%, but he hadn't shot the ball real well. But in that game, he shot it real well, and it made a huge difference. So the way that the Lakers are good enough defensively to do it. I mean, I could say, don't let Steph, get going, and then I don't have the players to do it. He could still do it. The Lakers have the players and the scheme to lock down Steph. And so it's really on those other guys. But those other guys, some of them are Hall of Famers. And they've been through this before. And they have a great, track record of delivering on the road under pressure, which they did twice in the last round. So it's absolutely still in play for both ways in this series.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.